Thanks for joining us. This is 15. I'm your host, Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Daniel Wade. Hi, Daniel. See, maybe I've slipped into formalities. I've been at a wedding the weekend. I didn't actually do that on purpose, calling you Daniel. Just every now and again it slips in. Turn into your mother. How are you?
Excuse me, my name is Dan.
You do go by Dan. Why have you chosen Dan over Danny? What's wrong with Danny?
Danny's a bit of a pet name, if you know what I mean. Down, tiger.
That is vile. That is stomach churning. Okay, explain the podcast.
You're thinking of
bit.
butter, not tiger.
So this is a podcast where we review the first.
I've had 6 glasses of wine.
I wish you had. That would be fantastic. We review the first 50 minutes of 3 films. The idea of this is when you go on Netflix or stream platform and you start watching a film, you just turn it off. We're going to do all that.
They're called islands.
Yeah. We're going to pick the film
Stream
for
platforms.
you. And that's how we come out on a Friday. It's just in time for your weekend viewing. The film that we recommend at the end of the podcast, we will watch in time for next week's one. So the one that
Ian
won out
McKellen
last
came
week
out on a Tuesday.
is $1 Million Baby. But before we get to that, if you're only listening to us in audio form, you can actually check out our Gormless Faces on YouTube if you'd like.
Oh, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And also, if you want to see some different content, me and Dan now do a web-only video cast about snooker called 147.
Snooker loopy nuts are we. Don't copyright us, please.
And finally, whilst I'm selling out, if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, anything like that, please rate and review. We really appreciate it. It helps us out.
And download. He always tells me to download it. Downloads equal prizes.
Dan never...
Sorry, Brucey, what was that? Download equals prizes. No, points. Download.
He never downloads our podcast. I don't even care who doesn't listen to it. At least just
Luke,
download it. Yeah, okay.
Brucey
right.
can't.
So, like I mentioned, $1 Million Baby won last week. That's why we decided to watch it. Dan, what's your first comment on this film?
Bleak.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about this. I think we have to do the spoiler because I don't actually think we can talk about this film without the spoiler because it just changed the entire film for me. So if you haven't seen it, you really want to watch it, you haven't quite caught up with us yet, just skip about 8 minutes because we have to address it.
8 minutes? God. Did you know it was going to be, it was anyway centered around the twist?
No, but as the twist happened... No. I remember it being parodied. Had Family Guy not parodied this, or someone has parodied this, where they're in a boxing ring and their head falls on a stool?
Family Guy parody? Don't think so. Can't think of any parodies they've done to mine.
Dan's got a pretty good encyclopedic knowledge of them usually. Okay, so let's get to this. No, let's not go to the twist. So let's talk about the first hour and a half before that big moment. So what did you think of that then? Because that wasn't bleak.
I enjoyed it. I don't know, you might disagree with me here, and this is something I've sort of thought about quite a lot, because I don't think I'm qualified to review a boxing film in the same way that you are, because I just don't really know enough about the sport, and I haven't seen all that many. So I thought the first sort of hour and a half was really quite strong. I thought it built nicely. We had these kind of characters that were quite surface level, but they weren't the focus of the film, so they were all right to be surface level, and I thought that they were kind of entertained and presented at a very approachable, very digestible way. I thought it was fast. I thought it was well paced. So we were absolutely rollicking it along. We watched it together, Grace and I, and she was a bit, you can imagine, a boxing movie, but she actually got into it and we were kind of hooked. So I thought the first hour and a half were pretty good, actually, pretty great. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm probably slightly less enthusiastic. I agree with you think about tempo. I do think it's very well paced, and I think maybe mentioned it a little bit in terms of direction. It felt almost. I'm trying to think of a phrase, but it was kind of like skeleton direction, as in there was no flourishes. You know what I mean? No flamboyance. But it's not the worst thing in the world. It's very meat and two veg direction. Like he's not getting in the way of it, Clint Eastwood, when directing it. I would probably say. I know you said. Easy to digest. I'd probably say maybe a touch accessible in the wrong sense. Not all of them, but just I found the Danger character, Danger, the wimpy boy, a little
Danger.
Corny.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see what you mean.
But no, yeah, it was simple storytelling, but it was honest, wasn't it? It was honest and it was sort of needed. and fully realised. And yeah, I'm pretty good meeting to veg. I probably wanted a touch more from the action sequences though. I wanted to be in the action. I wanted to be a bit more palpable. I wanted to be like with boxing, you can very much box on the outside, box on the inside, and you want the camera on the inside. You want to be with them.
But then I suppose that's sort of the point about her, is that she's not a boxer. Well, she's not a boxer, but she wasn't known for that. She's not a mincer. It's not a grudge match, and it's not a slog. For her, it was a sort of unstoppable, indomitable rise that was then, spoiler alert, cut horribly short. And Christ, I mean, 10 out of 10 direction when the twist comes, because I thought, wow, what a way of visualizing that. I mean, we were sort of, it was real shock. It was a real shock moment, a jump scare in that sort of cattle prod. But God, it was effective, didn't you think?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's actually somewhere where my boxing knowledge actually was a detriment. So this happens a lot in films, so in boxing, if you're standing there on the ropes and you're not throwing any punches, and I land about 6-7 shots on you, there's a very good chance that the ref's going to stop it at that point. Yeah. And so she was landing an insane amount of shots, Hilary Swank, the protagonist, and he waved it off like that, and I thought, oh, she's won. So I thought she'd won. I didn't know it was the end of the round. And it was only in the hospital bed later when they're talking about all this stuff about you had a shot and stuff. I'm like, what do you mean she had a shot? She won. I was like, oh, right. I completely missed something here. It was just the end of the round. But yeah, let's talk about
so she didn't win? I thought she had won.
Oh, did you think it as well? No, so he was waving it as the end of the round.
No, she was disqualified. No, it was a knockout, wasn't it? So she'd won the fight by knockout.
No, so what happened was that was the end of the round. She was trying some dirty tactics, but that was fine. None of that got repercussions came back to her. Then the end of the round goes, and she got sucker punched at the end of the round, and she obviously goes on from there. I don't know what the repercussions were to the person that did that. I mean, it should be a manslaughter charge. Like sporting stuff can cover you up a lot of the way, but in boxing stuff, that stuff will be penalised, especially the fact that she'd already been given a warning by the ref about disqualification.
And he'd clearly signalled that it was over. Like, it wasn't. You couldn't be like, oh, the aggression took me. Well, you probably could. A good lawyer probably could. Anyway, beside the point. We're driving away from the film.
Let's not get into the weeds of that. But I think this move to make her become paralysed and spend 40 minutes in a bed, deteriorating in health until she eventually is killed, was absolutely genius. I think up to that point, I thought it was a perfectly serviceable boxing film. Fine. I quite enjoyed it. I thought the performance was very good. Hilary Swank very good. Morgan Freeman very good. I think Cretan Soul wasn't great, but for like a guy's like a cowboy, a gunslinger, he's pushed himself. Fair play to him. And that move of him with him, he wasn't great. He wasn't great, but it was better as the film went on. But the idea that you can leave someone, an audience member like myself, feeling so devastated is testament to the emotive responses in that film, probably to the acting more than anything else. And it's just brave. What a staggeringly sad film.
Yeah, really horrible. Yeah, and it's a clever film because those threads that are littered throughout, so like her really quite tragic backstory and this kind of horrible family environment that we've seen all before, but is probably all too true, and this really quite, this broken down relationship between Clint Eastwood's character and his daughter. You kind of, as it's building like that, you don't mind, do you? As it's growing and leading on and she's getting more success, you don't mind those sort of things because you see them as character, as light and shade in an otherwise positive film. For it then to be so bleak and so horrible, it just pulls them even more real and makes them even worse. And it's just like, oh my God, there was no light or dark. This has just been shit all the way through. Not shit as in bad, as in shit as in sad. And just...
I remember, it throws me back to, I remember when I was about 9 or 10, it's probably the first time I ever cried at a film and really shouted at a film. I was watching Titanic, right? And the bit when... I was 4. And the bit... You started early. The bit when after Jack's died and Rose is blowing the whistle, right? I'm shouting at this...
Oh, sorry.
I'm shouting at the screen. I'm saying, someone hear the whistle, right? And it's similar to this film where...
Luke used to be a dog when he was 10.
She becomes paralysed. She's laying in the bed, and you're waiting there for a big moment to come and save it, like a Dowser Machina, somebody to just from unreal to come and save and bring it back to life. And then when the leg gets cut off, you're like, oh my God, this is just descending now. And I've always been fascinated with this idea. I think I mentioned to you a couple of times before, is this idea of a likable character in a film just having a series of events that get worse and worse, and their life just gets worse and worse and worse, and you're really testing an audience, and you never see it. And this film was brave enough to actually do it, because it stops that glamorization of boxing. Boxing has taken a lot of people's lives, and it shouldn't be glamorized, and it shouldn't be. You don't want to watch this film and think, "Oh, I'll be a boxer then." It's like, no, this is the reality.
Do that. Just on a side note, you'll enjoy. As you know, nuggets feel quite a prevalent part in our discussions.
We're talking about paraplegics, people with no arms or legs.
Correct. And
quadriplegics.
Yes. And Grace gets a bit of that banter as well. I say banter, me pontificating.
Tirades, what I call them.
So when she said, "What's this about?" I said, "A really rich nugget that is called a baby. $1 million baby, right? No arms, no legs, needs to be looked after constantly."
You didn't know what was going to happen?
No, I was telling Grace, I knew it was a boxing film, but I didn't know what was going to happen. A complete whim said it about Nugget. And then 2 hours in, she's got no leg, and Grace just looked at me like...
It's like Benjamin Button. You say, it is the no legs thing, but it happens in reverse. You know, it takes a while to get there.
Grows legs.
Should we get to Morgan Freeman and Hilary Swank? Because they are this absolute performances here.
The three act, yeah. I mean, credit where credit's due. They won the Oscars. She's fantastic. Mm-hmm. He's in the opposite way, but as fantastic. He's so subtle, tired, doesn't do a lot, but when he does do it, and what he does do is fantastic. Mm-hmm. She's just this fantastically spunky, hillbilly, tenacious. She just gets it, and she's charming with it. You know, she really very likable, yeah.
And someone to root for in these sporting films, which are meant to stir emotion, you know, like a partisan atmosphere. You want to root for people. She's so incredibly easy to root for. And that's something about this film I noticed as well. It's like, it was definitely trying to push this idea of sport isn't about the actual spectacle. It isn't about the actual players. It isn't about the game and the rules. It's about the emotions and the human stories that come with that. And that was something it was trying to push and pedal, and it did that really well. Okay, but I want to get to what you think about Clint Eastwood.
Right. So you kind of said it, didn't you, last week when we were watching the trailer, that you didn't think Clint Eastwood was doing a lot. And I think you hit the nail exactly on the head there. I think throughout this film, his direction, fantastic. But it's a little bit like, do you think it was a bridge too far? Do you think he could have got a different actor? And I kept watching it thinking, even someone like a Mark Ruffalo, I think would have been fantastic in that role.
He didn't have the age. He didn't have the age, but he's great in everything, Mark Ruffalo.
There was I found him really straight. One note, route A, no kind of conflict going on as the performer. On visualizing that, acting that, I just felt he was very much, I'm the tough guy. Now I'm the tough guy who's softening. Now I like you. Now I'm sad. You know?
I love that point.
I think where he worked really well, Clint Eastwood, was in those little mise-en-scènes, those little moments with Hilary Swank when he was saying, I couldn't kill you. When he's with Morgan Freeman's character talking about the good old times. In those little moments of one-on-one, he was great, but I think it was only because, well, I don't think it was only because, I don't know whether that was because that's a really tender moment in the story, and naturally that's going to have the most attention. So the dialogue, the whole ambiance is going to be more powerful there, or if it's because he's opposite Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman, who are fantastic. Either way, those were the best moments, but the rest of it, I just found him really, exactly what you said, kind of just not doing enough for me.
Yeah, you can tell he's acting for the first parts of it, and I kind of, the first hour or so I sort of passed off as he's about 70 odd in this film anyway. He's probably pretty curmudgeonly, isn't he? He's just being who he is. I did think, to be fair to him, I thought he got better in these like enormous Oscar moment scenes towards the end. But I love your point there about he was one note, and that's probably from the fact that he directed himself, so he doesn't have this collaboration with another artistic mind of trying to bring this character to life. And he's not trying so many different ways because someone tells him to. He's doing it the way he sees fit because he's director. And I don't know if there's going to be anyone on that film set who's going to stand up, say to Clint, maybe we should do it this way. But I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was detractable. I don't think it was horrendous. I think it was fine. I think it was passable.
I don't think it detracts from every other great thing about this film. But I think I mean, I don't know, again, why do we do research, but what it was up against that year for the Oscar. But I think I gave it 8.5, and that is pretty much solely because of him. I thought his direction was fantastic, and in every other aspect, I thought he was great. I didn't rate the cinematography much, I must have to say.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bare
This
bones,
sort of
wasn't it?
use of fade felt very
love that.
lazy.
I put that point down. I forgot to say that. Thanks for bringing that up. These basic cut fades in the hospital bed scenes, that is very amateur. That's TV. That wasn't good at all. You could even do a simple poetic cutaway to something outside in the garden, and something that had life, that hasn't, like a dead bird off a tree that's shot on my head. But you know what I mean? You can do something a little bit more interesting with that. I remember, I don't know what it was up against, but I know, Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind was the same year. Right. I know that. I mean, that's an amazing film, but that's not an Oscar film, is it? It's not going to get everyone behind it. It's a niche sort of film.
No, this has something which I feel like the last 10 years of films has lost, which certainly the noughties had, was that this feels epic in scale, and it was sort of a tendency that those that are epic in scale, that's your big budget film, that's what we're doing, and the awards are going to the big budget films. Whereas in the teens, whatever we're calling that, it became a bit more art house, that was where we sort of seemed to be going a little bit. So I think, I'm not saying it wasn't a worthy winner, just there was a couple of things. 8.5 for me. Really great, but
I sort of agree with 8.5 maybe. I don't want to give it an 8 because
maybe I actually only give it an 8.
Although I have some issues, I don't think it's got a rewatchability factor.
Sorry, 8.
I don't think it's got a rewatchability factor, but the fact it was so brave and so inventive to do that, I have to give it a huge credit for that. Enormous,
tenacious film, tenacious character, well performed, well directed. Just, I found myself thinking, not to harp on about him, but about Kenneth Branagh, and a similar thing. He's become very much this sort of triple, doing all three: writing, directing, producing, acting. Well, that's 4, I know, but do you know what I mean? And I think it's to the detriment sometimes.
Yeah, just I don't know. Auteurs are interesting, aren't they? Because I feel like they're going to become fewer and far between nowadays. Who have you got? You've got Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, Tarantino. You know what I mean? David O. Russell, I guess. But he's sort of the fade because he's an absolute maniac off camera. But that stuff doesn't feel as prominent now, like the Scorseses and stuff. Everyone's getting older, but you don't have this fresh wave of those people. Maybe you had Damien Chazelle, when he came through with Whiplash and La La Land, Dan's favourite.
Where's he gone?
Where have they gone? Yeah, it's
hanging out with Duffy.
Okay, so anyway, but I would recommend it. I definitely recommend it. It's very
if you've
sad.
not seen it, go and see it.
And we have just spoilt it. So if you haven't seen it, we've just destroyed it for you. Anyway.
And if you jumped 8 minutes, it was probably when I went spoiler. So jump the other 10.
Don't remember you saying that. Right, okay, let's get on to our first.
Why don't you hold your breasts more?
Let's get on to our first of the 3 films this week then.
Hello, I'm Luke, holding my breasts.
This is. You always give us a moment.
For those on the audio,
yeah.
Luke's got his big baps out. He calls them Shirley Bappy and Hilary Bappe.
You always give us You always give us a moment which encourages the audio listeners to go and check this out on YouTube, which I do enjoy, Dan, so thank you for that. Okay, first film up.
Steamroller of the Death of Hilary Devey. Yep, nice.
We'll get onto that in a moment. Okay, so this is... We won't. Hilary Devey's died.
Hold you to a moment.
Okay, Hustle, the new Adam Sandler film, and yet another collaboration with Netflix. This seems like a dramedy about a basketball coach who looks to be stepped up to become an assistant coach finally for the Philadelphia 49ers. Oh no, I'm an American football fan. What are they team called? Is it 69ers? 76ers. 76ers it is. And very much like the Gladiator, as in someone's going to be hired, but then the boss dies. What's going to happen?
I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, basketball army of the North.
First question, you can probably tell this
football tour.
I thought first when I wrote down was, is this a serious film? Because the first few characters were Serbian, and every time a Serbian's on screen, they don't take nonsense. And I was trying to think of who's the hardest nations in the world, right? And I came up with Armenia, Georgia, and Belarus. And what's the other thing they've all got in common? They're all like under the thumb of Russia
Soviet bloc,
and terrified of Russia. So you've got to be hard nuts.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I came up with. Have you got any more?
Hardest nut. Brazil.
Gotta be Brazil now. Gotta be. It's a slam dunk.
Also, the French.
Very good, Dan. Very good. Very good. So this film
surely the Inuits, whatever kind of group they live in.
Well, mostly Greenland, isn't it?
Well, it's white, actually, snow.
You know, Greenland's got the highest suicide rate per capita of anywhere in the world. Interesting.
Sad
for some. Okay.
Many of the families left behind.
I'm not a basketball fan, but I felt this a little bit.
You love your balls, though, don't you?
Yeah, as long as they're on my chin.
What do you call a pair of nuts on your boobies?
We will get to this eventually.
Just answer me.
I don't know.
Chestnuts. What do you call a pair of balls on your chin?
Go on.
Cock in your mouth.
Yeah. Okay. So this felt like quite a modern swish film as usual. Yeah. Adam Sandler, I like a bit of Adam Sandler. I always bring up Punch Drunk Love to prove he's a very good actor.
Tap it in.
Uncut Gems.
Tap it in.
Very, very good in that film. An equally good film. And I think
That's My Boy, also a pretty top draw. And you can check out the episode where we review Top Boy, first ever episode, where Luke proceeded to tell the plot.
I don't know what this is divulged into.
Tell me. Bit of fun. I thought it was quite funny, actually. I quite enjoyed this sort of, not subtle comedy, but I wrote subtle comedy. It sort of snuck up on you, the jokes in this. Did you not think?
Oh, yeah, it's a dramedy. That's why I described it as that. That's exactly what it is.
That was the only joke
pressure to be funny,
saw.
But it... So when you said the jokes sneak up on you, you meant that one joke snuck up on you, because the rest of it was boring as fuck.
No, I actually quite enjoyed this. I actually thought it was like the perfect 15 minutes. I felt we got everything that you want.
Godfather, piss off. Perfect 15 minutes right here. Hustle. New Adam Sandler film.
No, you know what I mean. Because we get the whole premise of what's going to happen, and it's done in that 15 minutes. That was where we came up with the conception of this show from.
From That's My Boy. No, I do agree with what you say, but one reason I disagree with it, in fact, something I liked about this film and I wrote down was I was intrigued by its direction.
Oh, yeah.
I was intrigued as to where it was going to go, and we were constantly talking. We watched these films together, and we were talking about where the things were going to go. Dan actually guessed where it was going to go, so well done to Dan. But I quite liked that in the first 5 minutes. I quite like that in the first 5 minutes. It wasn't blatantly obvious. Like, you have someone has a good moment happened to him, but then sort of realised a big twist is coming here very soon, so this good news isn't going to stick when he was promoted to assistant coach and the owner dies. Me leaving this position.
Luke, once again, telling you the story.
Trepidatious.
Adam Sandler thing. I thought it was quite a genuine film. I didn't feel like it was not genuine.
Thank you. Did you think it was genuine? I didn't like the family scenes. I didn't think they were authentic.
Careful now, your daughter's got titties.
Queen Latifah, who interesting choice.
Not my best impression.
I imagine he owed her a favour. Do you know what I mean? And chucked her in this film. I can't think of any other reason. Also, the jargon and esoteric nature of the basketball scenes I didn't really like. So, a sporting film that I love for a sport I hate is Moneyball, which is about baseball drivel, crap sport.
Have you ever been to a live game?
No, I wouldn't want to be. You have, right, Dan?
Sure have.
Can you agree that it's absolutely tripe?
1 second.
You can. But something that Moneyball does is, but I guess it more looks into the mathematics side and analytics side. It makes it very accessible, whilst also leaving you to think that you're intelligent for understanding it. That isn't the case for this film. It is a little bit, not difficult to follow, but just a bit boring when they're talking about the positions and so on. Dan has now proceeded to get out a foam glove.
His big finger.
Which is lovely stuff, Dan. Thank you very much for that.
It's absolutely extortionate money, basketball.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I quite enjoyed the cinematography. I thought it was. I think overall, this film for me was doing quite a lot of good things. I really like the garage door scene when you see that. I thought that was lovely little shot.
Garage door opens. That's it.
Yeah. But boy, what a garage door. I enjoyed this. I thought it was intriguing, like Luke said. I think it's doing a lot of good things. It's Netflix. You've got to worry about that. Netflix produced stuff. I think sometimes they just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
But if it's sticking, perhaps it's good. And like I said, I think the kind of the story points you want to be hitting in a 15 minutes, I felt this film did him in a good way. I was intrigued, and yeah, I wouldn't disagree with anything I said.
100%. I do worry where it's going to go. It seems like it's played its cards already a little bit too early, which is what these sort of films do. The ones that are produced by Netflix and a little bit, I think these are a bit storyboarded to death. I don't think these are exactly creative films. So we know, this is another one of the first 15 minutes, is in that first 15 minutes, it's going to happen. They're going to set the wheels in motion to what the film's going to be. It's showing its cards there. Is Adam Sandler going to be enough to keep driving this forward? Maybe. I quite like Adam Sandler, but he's not a tour de force, is he?
Do you think there'll be flashback? Because you get Robert Duvall in your movie.
Yeah.
And you kill him off in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
But Gladiator did the same thing. Yeah.
Are you intrigued to watch this?
I am.
I sort of am. Like, this is the kind of one I can appease Claudia with, because she's a big Adam Sandler fan. So I can just say, let's watch this, and it's her choice. Make it think it's her choice, and I can watch something a bit more interesting later on.
Gaslighting is fun, isn't it?
Totally. So next up, we've got The Invisible Man. Came out a couple of years ago.
The Invisible Man.
So this started really good, really tense start, and I was hooked. You know, this symphony of the waves crashing and then the drone sounds, the long drone sounds.
Well,
we weren't quite sure what was going on. I loved that. Great start.
I made the comment: silence versus sound. It's doing that. It's sort of like in the same way that Power of the Dog did. There wasn't music. There was use of sound, wasn't there? Crashing of waves, like you say, alarms, clicks, wow, that kind of whatever that's.
Disabled kids, apparently.
She's dead.
No, I agree with that. That suspense was built really well. Like, I was verbally asking what's going on here, like several times. And we watch a lot of films. We can pretty much work out what's going on in the first few scenes.
3 a week.
But I love that, and I love this idea of. So obviously she breaks
176 a year.
She breaks free of her partner in the first scene, and
wow,
it seems like it's
partner
trending.
Captive. Je ne sais quoi.
But it seems like it's using this idea of an abusive relationship, and I love that idea for horror. That's so clever, because that's like horror through paranoia. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you can use the angle of her being a hysterical, distressed, damaged woman. Mm-hmm. So you think that her actions are like melodrama, when really, you know what I mean? Like, stuff could be happening to her and really distressful, but there'd be drastic irony because the characters wouldn't believe her, and we know she's telling the truth. That's so clever.
It's a way of making your narrator seem unreliable but be reliable, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so unreliable to everyone else but us.
Yeah,
and whereby she probably starts to question her own mental fragility.
I think it was mysterious. That's what I had, and I mean that in a good sense. I don't mean that in the Scooby-Doo way, but very much what's going on.
I did not think you did.
But there was a big dog, and this is my question. What happened to Zeus?
So Zeus got released, and this, as Dan
mentioned, was
cute. Dan used the word captive because the entire house, the residence, is within certain walls. So Zeus wasn't jumping those 8-foot walls, was he?
No. Could have dug them.
For goodness knows. Maybe that'll be the sequel. Who knows?
And yes, so this guy, he's an optics expert, we're told at the end. He's got cameras everywhere. He's got
suits.
We see a lab, and there's some sort of do you remember, did you ever watch Doctor Who?
Nope.
Early doors, when
not a virgin.
Zoe, is it Zoe Wanamaker? Yeah, it is Zoe Wanamaker.
Of course it
from
is.
My Family, played the Skin Woman. Just Google that image, and he's got like a thing like that. And I think he is going to be the Invisible Man, and he's going to come after her, but nobody's going to believe her because they all think he's dead. So maybe I've just spoilt it for everyone.
On those comments, people you just saying, and for the one listener that understood that one, I don't think there was one. I don't even think one person got your reference.
I think more people will get it than not.
So the director of this, Lee Wannell, he wrote Saw and Insidious.
Okay.
So this is his wheelhouse. So I'm hopeful he'll be able to avoid cliches, because horror films are like cliche city, are they? Tropes everywhere.
Cliche city.
It seems inventive and original enough that I'm willing to take a test on it. You know what I mean? To see if it can avoid these, because it's a really good start.
Yeah, I agree.
Another point I wanted to make was this feels like an actual woman on screen. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a young, like in horror films where you get like the young, sexy girl that you sort of is a lustful object, or you've got like the motherly, wholesome figure. It's not any of those. She hopefully doesn't fall into any bracket. You get to read the character herself and her actions, and you can't just relate it to another one you've seen in the film. This feels like an actual woman on screen, which is nice. Yeah, really good stuff. And I'd want to watch this.
Yeah, me too.
Brilliant. Lovely. That was nice and easy. Okay, let's get to the final film then.
Nice and easy.
Lemon squeezy.
Oh, yeah, that will do.
Okay, so final film up then. This is Gangs of New York. So this is from the Turn of Millennium, Martin Scorsese film, Daniel Day-Lewis, Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio.
When do you think the last time somebody said Turn of the Millennium? Other than you just then. 10 years? 15?
And now with that cast, with Martin Scorsese at the helm, I did not expect this to be so camp and empty.
And theatrical. That was your word, but
yeah, definitely so. This was if you are to take it, then probably don't acknowledge the fact that it was my word. I've got ownership, trademarking that one. Yeah, for me, the first thing that stood out for me here is how empty the scenes feel. Like we've got diegetic sound, so everything's trapped within the scene. So you have the swords being taken out of their sheath and so on. Shing. But there's no score, and we've seen two tribes basically go to battle here, and we're meant to care what's going to happen, and we don't, and we're not having these evoking these feelings and fear, and all this stuff is missing from this.
Yeah, scene. Bereft of something quite key. I don't know what it is, but. It was weird, bizarre. I couldn't.
So it's set in New York.
Get into it.
1862, and it's a feud between Catholics and Protestants, and I don't know who's who here. I assume the Catholics are the Irish families that were here before, and the Protestants are the Boston
people in top hats.
Yeah. And
it felt. I don't know about you, if I can interrupt, because I always do. You tell me, but. It felt very Disney, and what I mean by that is it was a ride that you'd go through at a theme park, and there all these sort of large, it was all very, we're in the cold and it's a set, and then you're inside and it's a big burning factory, and all the guys are there's the girl with the claws, there's a guy who Brendan Gleeson always has a club, John C. Reilly's there carrying the banner with the rabbits, and it's all felt very staged and choreographed, but unnaturally so, so that I didn't feel in any way immersed, and yeah, just again, that lack of immersion ultimately leads to not caring. So when we get this sort of quite climactic fight, it doesn't really mean a lot. I don't really.
100%. This has come from the mind from Scorsese that made like Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver. You know what I mean? Like these are impactful, brutal films, and this fight scene, which does include gore and so on, very tame. And I agree with what you said then. Not for one single moment was I not aware that I was watching a film. Here.
Yeah,
I wasn't transfixed. I wasn't pulled into the scene at all. It wasn't gritty. It was theatrical. And I don't think that was the desire?
But then I think the gore thing you've mentioned kind of encapsulates exactly what we were sort of saying, because it starts out and we've got this quite dynamic shot of Daniel Day-Lewis slicing his way through. He's got two knives, slicing his way through these crowd of whatever plebs, and there's no blood. There's no guts, there's no cuts. He's slashing, he's fine. So we're like, all right, this is You even said, didn't you, this is all clearly not an 18. And then the next minute, we've got a girl ripping someone's ear off and cutting their face and guy having his teeth pulled out. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is back to an 18. And then you've got Daniel Day-Lewis again stabbing people and somebody being clubbed to death and there just being nothing. And then it's just really mixed. It's all over the place. It doesn't feel... It feels like too many cooked, spoil the broth. It doesn't feel like a clear singularity of vision.
It brought me back to around Christmas time when I went to watch Titan in the cinemas, and you have these explosive moments of like these gruesome scenes, and they are so powerful. And I'm shaking around in my chair, and I'm like screeching and making involuntary noises. None of that came out in this at all. It felt a bit like West Side Story on crack, just the way it was.
Yeah.
It looked, and I love your point about the set design. At no point was there a desire to go and find somewhere that looked like this. It's, oh no, we'll build it. Oh no, we'll build that. And we'll build that. We've got a £100 million budget. We'll build it all. We'll build it all. I don't know what's going on here. And then we have, I guess, the centre point, that's the plot, is DiCaprio sees his father figure or father, I'm not even sure what it was, Liam Neeson get brutally killed. He runs off with a knife to claim vengeance later on. And it's so cheesy. That is very, very cheesy. And the whole way it was handled. Why are we putting these kid actors at the heart of these emotive scenes? They can't carry them. They don't even know what's meant to be portrayed. And yeah, it was very poor.
We've seen openings like this before, done way in worse films or supposedly less acclaimed films that have been done way more impactfully.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't quite reconcile if we've got the acclaim of Scorsese, we've got the acclaim this film gets, we've got a really wishy-washy, mixed, unsure, I'm not sure, who's sure, whatever, kind of non-immersive, kind of sticky, held at arm's length 15 minutes, and I don't know where I'm going. So this film for me has to go somewhere unbelievable, and Leonardo DiCaprio's got to be phenomenal, and John C. Reilly's got to do the best performance he's ever given before Sherlock, and
Watson and Holmes and
Watson, sorry.
I guess my final point on this would be it's so easy to forget that Liam Neeson was once a high caliber of actor. You know what I mean? You forget that he did Schindler's List. You? And this, I guess, he's been picked for these sort of roles. And I just think of him in Taken. Have you got anything to say about wanting to see this film more?
Well, yes, I'm intrigued by it to know by it. Why? Yeah,
but we're not having
but no.
Should we make a
3
decision?
hours? How long is it? It's like 12 hours.
I think 12 hours. Yeah, I think it's definitely 12 hours long.
12 hours and 400 million to build in the turn of the millennium. Sorry.
Right. So we're watching The Invisible Man. Is that correct?
Are we? Or do you want to watch Hustle?
Yes. No, I want to watch Invisible Man. It's gonna be really good.
Okay.
Exciting. We're not touched on.
And then when we're together again to watch the films, you, me, Grace, and Claudia, we can watch Hustle.
Wonderful. Okay, Dan, thanks very much. See you next week. And next week we will be viewing The Invisible Man.
I'm the Invisible Man. Bye-bye.